green button. Here we go. Welcome. Today we're going to be studying our latest arpeggio from the Jumping Flea Arpeggiator, and we are also going to run over and post this on the website. So the website is jollyrogerukulele.com, and on the front page of that site you'll get our daily link to join these classes, and also all the sheet music. And then all throughout that site there's just tons and tons of more things to study. A fully developed and free introduction to ukulele program on there, where you will learn to play at a very high level for the rest of your life, and something that I think ultimately you will find exciting and fun, or incredibly aggravating and difficult. Either way, it's good for you. All right, let's see. All right, so I got the link posted. Let me go post this on Twitter, https:// Roger Ukulele. Oops, don't do that. jollyrogerukulele.com. Wait there, and then I'm going to add the little picture of lesson 23, which is in this folder here. Lesson 23. There's only 30 lessons. There's really only 29 lessons, and the first 8 lessons, right, are all one lesson. So let's see, the first 8 lessons are all one lesson, so there's not that many lessons, and so you get started pretty fast and pretty hard, and then at the end of that you're like, all right, did I learn anything? Here's the things I'm hoping you've learned so far. Number 1, mistakes don't matter. Number 2, ukulele student George Clooney eats apples, or dog bone, DGBE for baritone. I'm hoping you have learned how to play melody by reading tablature. I'm hoping you are learning to make some of your chords. That's it. That's what I hope you've learned so far. Vic, sound is good. Cloudy up there in Eugene. Supposed to be. It's a little overcast here in Colorado. I think we're supposed to get another little bit of snow here tonight. What is today? Tuesday? Yeah, I think tonight. I don't know. It feels weird out there. So, hi ho, Donna. Welcome in. Donna's back. Poor Donna. She's had to log a lot of hours with me. Glad you're here, Donna. Janice is in. What's going on in Scotland today? On the right time tonight? Yeah, thank you, Janice. I feel very badly, Janice, that I didn't notify all of you that we had the time change. You know, it's just such a thing here in the United States, and you're like, all right, everybody knows. I don't need to worry about it. And I just straight up forgot about international viewers. So hopefully you had a chance to review yesterday. Yesterday's lesson was not on the same crazy level as today's is. Today's is a little heavy lifting, so we're gonna do our best to give ourselves some love. Well, and also, I mean, obviously yesterday we had played Home on the Range the week before, so hopefully that was no big deal for you. An hour late last night. Yeah, tropical here. Really? Tropical? That doesn't seem right. That seems like you're in the wrong country, Janice. Mary G, white skies are over here. Yeah, we got white skies here. I don't know what the heck's going on. It is what it is. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get started. These arpeggios are pretty heavy lifting, and I kind of feel like it's the one area of playing music that every pro knows, and it will make your playing sound so much better. Linda walks in. G major is yuck. What she meant to say is G major is awesome, and it just, you know how autocorrect works. These arpeggios are going to make you a much better sounding, much more professional sounding player with only a little bit of effort. And so I get it. I don't think Linda's incorrect. I think she walks in, she's like, these suck. But let's talk about how to make them not suck and what we want to do. So let's grab the ukulele version of today's lesson, the G major arpeggio, and we're going to talk about why I teach these, why I'm so passionate about arpeggios, why I'm so crazy about when I wrote these out. I didn't write them out on accident. I wrote them out to make myself a better player, and I knew two things that they were going to do. I knew, number one, I needed to know all of my chords. I have to know those in order to be a composer, to be an arranger, to be that next level in music. I can pretend to know all my chords, or I can really know all my chords. And I really know all my chords now because I wrote this book. And so I was teaching myself that. The other thing that I knew from piano was, if you do this on your hand, it sounds a whole lot better than if you do this with your hand. So your left hand is over here, and you got a C chord. Plonk, plonk, plonk. It sounds fine, right? But if you play C, E, G, 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 it sounds way better. And it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. The difference is instead of going clonk, you go da-da-dum. And that's what we're going to be doing on ukulele. The other reason why I am convinced that I think I was just sort of messing around with this in the beginning, I wanted it to sort of pick up where Johann Sebastian Bach and Carcassonne on guitar had left off. They taught it a lot about arpeggios and etudes and really breaking this down into pieces and parts. Ukulele, of course, had nothing like that at all, ever written. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to write this thing out because I know when you play any type of classical guitar or really fingerstyle guitar or popular guitar, if you can all of us can grab a G chord and go somewhere, over the rainbow, right? Or we can go somewhere over the rainbow, or we can go somewhere, and you're gonna all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that sounds way better. And so these arpeggios, while they are yucky to learn, and we're gonna get you fixed on something. Okay, so first of all right, when we tackle a new arpeggio, we kind of look through that and we're like, oh, 13 and 14 look like nothing but trouble. Okay, that looks like very unfun stuff to do there. And then I'm looking through the rest of this, and I don't see anything else is this awful. Okay, everything else is standard chord positions. So let's talk about what standard chords come along in the key of G major. Okay, that's what these are for. Get your hand up in front of your face. If you're in G, then the other main chords you're likely to find are G. So if this is G, you might find some A minors, you might find some B minors. Not as likely, because 2 and 3 are usually they don't show up as much as the other ones. So G, A minor, B minor, C, G, C, D, some type of coloring of D is going to show up. So G, C, D, and then over here, number 6 is E minor. Okay, so 1, 4, 5 or 5, 7, and 6 minor are gonna be the main chords that show up. Now let's double check. In the key of G on this piece of music, we have a G. Okay, that's the main chord. Very next chord, E minor. Very next chord, C. Very next chord, D. Okay, so the first 4 chords that are likely to show up magically. And you're like, oh, well, that's probably going to be helpful because now I've got the 4 main chords in the key of G sitting right here. I just have to study this piece of music and I will know my 4 main chords. So then I look through and I'm like, all right, what else shows up in here? C, G, D, E minor, C, G, D, E minor, C, G. Well, apparently whoever wrote this wasn't super creative. You went with those 4 main chords. All the way down at the very end, 39, instead of using a D, we use a D7. Okay, so these chords are exactly what you'd expect when you are studying a piece of music and you're taking it apart and taking a look at the chord structure. 1, 4, 5, and 6 minor show up. Good morning, Michelle. Or is it morning for you? Yeah, still morning for Michelle. Nice and sunny up there in Rockaway Beach. Good to see you. Q made it in from Northern California. All right, so what we know so far is that the chords are exactly what music theory tells us they probably should be. G, C, D, and E minor. Those are exactly what shows up here. The only other weird thing about this is when you look at the chord shapes, first chord here is a G chord. Next chord is an E minor. Okay. Next chord is a C. Next chord is a D. Doesn't that sound like a song? Okay, then it repeats. E minor, C, and D. Double bar means there's a new section here. Let's do that. G chord to the D, to the G, to the D. This is a little bit of a bummer. We don't like this part. We wish all C's were C's. This is a C chord, but it's a different shape. So bar on 3, and then your A shape in front. Okay, more popularly known as B flat. Okay, we haven't quite got to B flat yet. We're getting there. We're headed down that pathway. Much better to run into C chord here than a B flat, right? So here's a C. So when we get to 13, just bar on 3, A shape in front, play that. At 14, it's the same shape, it's just on fret 5. So don't even pick anything up, just slide it up. Okay, and that's also a D chord. And then double bar, new section, drop down to E minor. Let's play that. And then we got a C chord, got a G chord, and a D chord. Let's go back to the E minor, C chord, G chord, and a D chord. Okay, there's a repeat at the bottom of the page. That's going to take us back up to the top, and we won't do that now. Then go on to page 2. Measures 23 through 30 are plain old melody, right? The only problem with the melody here is that it's kind of all over the fretboard. You're on 2s and you're on 10s, and so you're going to have to be smart about positional playing. We'll talk about that when we get there. And then finally, to wrap it up, measure 31, E minor chord, C chord, G chord, D chord. Again, E minor, C chord, G chord, D chord, and then to wrap it up, G chord, and then a D chord, D7 in this case, and then a G. Okay, those could not be more factory issued, straight off the shelf type of chords that we're going to be using. But we get to practice with this bar chord here at 3 with your A shape in front. It measures 11 and 12. Those are the two hardest chords in there. Otherwise, everything else is right out of the box. I will mention, in a song like this, the first 4 measures are the 1, 6, 4, or 5 chord progression that we hear in a lot of 50s music. And you heard it on day 2 when we did this little songbook, and then on day 3 or 4 when we do Waltzing Matilda, we also do this. But look at what's sitting here. Do 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 ba do ba do ba do ba do ba do ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum. Measure 1 and measure 2 and measure 3 and measure 4. D chord, E minor, C, and D. Every song from the 50s use this chord progression. Okay, so the chord progression makes sense. That's not what's going to be hard on this piece of music. You've already run into that exact chord progression in 2 different keys already. And so the chord progression, those shouldn't freak you out. Okay, I will mention there's a song, I don't know how many of you know it, One of Us, and I don't remember the name of the woman who wrote it. I want to say Joan Armstrong, but that doesn't sound right. And it's about God riding the bus home after work and he's tired. And I know for sure when I saw this chord progression, that's where I got these chords from. What if God was one of us? Just a stranger on the bus, trying to make his way home. Right, so that's what's going on down there. I guarantee you. I look at that, I'm like, oh, that's Stranger on the Bus right there. So that was, and that's funny. I don't remember that specifically at that moment, but I guarantee when I saw that, I'm like, oh, yeah, I know what I did. I stole somebody else's chord progression there. It's actually, I've seen it on the internet called the sensitive female chord progression. You start with the minor sixth, you go to the fourth, go to the one, and then go to the five. Dum ba dum ba dum bum ba da da dum ba da da bum. All of Alanis Morissette songs, right? So Mary's saying, so shapes are the same on uke and baritone, but different names. Is it true? Mary, welcome to the kingdom. The shapes are identical. And I'll even push it a little bit further than that. The shapes are even identical on guitar. There's more strings, so you end up using a few more fingers, and they look a little different. But at the end of the day, shapes are identical between those two. This shape here, G chord, is a G on ukulele. It's a D on both guitar and on baritone. So yes, everything's the same, just different shapes. Okay, and so the names change because you're in different keys. When we play this as ukulele players, we're in the key of G. When we play the exact same thing from a shapes perspective, we're in the key of D on baritone. Now, here's the important takeaway from this. In piano, when we learn piano, we put names on everything because everything is like this, right? Everything is like this, and so it's very hard to tell the difference between this shape and this shape and this shape and this shape. So we name all of this stuff. And what happened in musical education is teachers got a hold of this, and they love naming stuff, right? Because that gives you a vocabulary to discuss. And that sort of crazy obsession to name everything bled over into an activity where we don't need that. And so you don't really need to know the name of this shape. You just know you need to make this shape. And then it follows, it comes right before this shape. Okay? And this shape here, that's the shape we're going to use in measure 1, but who cares what it's called, okay? Because it'll be called different names on different instruments. We just know we need to make that shape, and then we need to make this shape, and then we got to make this shape, and then we make this shape. So as I don't spend a ton of time talking about it because I kind of hope that eventually you just find out about it, I guess. But when we're in class, we'll talk about it. Here's a G chord, here's a D minor chord. But what you'll find out on your own is, I don't really care what that name of that is. I just need to make that shape. And that's when you're busy staring at that tablature line going, all right, 0, 2, 3. And then you peek up, oh, the chord shape makes it look like this, so I'll do that. And then I'll make this shape, and then I'm going to make this shape. And magically music starts coming out based on shapes. In guitar, I know lots of players who do not read very much music, but boy, they know their bar chords, and they know which shapes go with which other shapes, and they just play by shapes, and it works. And so I don't want you to think, oh, I don't need to know the names of anything, because you probably do, but you don't have to know the names of everything right off the bat. And so yes, your thinking is exactly right, Mary. The shapes are exactly the same, but we just name them differently, and that's the problem with naming things. If you only use one instrument your entire life, yeah, you should know the names of everything. But when you use multiple instruments, it gets pretty hard to remember the names of everything, and that's why we come up with this shape system that really works quite well on all fretted instruments, and particularly these three: ukulele, baritone, and guitar. It's why I'm able, frankly, to teach all three, because this shape is a G on baritone, on a C on ukulele, and on guitar I just add these two fingers on top of that shape, and now I have a G chord on guitar. So yeah, You're absolutely right. Hopefully that's a light bulb for you. All right, nice. Let's play this. We're going to talk about this hand now. We just talked about all the chords. By the way, when you get a new song, you don't need to go da da da. You don't need to do this strumming thing that we teach ukulele players for some reason. One strum will do. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Talk yourself through it. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. You don't need to do somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, which is what we teach people. Which is it sends the wrong message that we have to have all this energy into everything, and knowing and mindfully and thoughtfully what goes on is what we're really after. And having fun is a nice byproduct of that. Mary says, "Oh, I'm very happy. Wait, the light bulb just came on. I just realized I can play both baritone and ukulele exactly the same way. That's exciting." All right, now this song is going to be a G chord followed by E minor, followed by C, followed by D, D followed by G. Now let's take these fingers. Okay. You'll notice on this that once I'm holding the G chord, 0, 2, 3 are magically being held, and I can just take my thumb, index, and middle and pluck the top 3 strings. And then I'm going to do thumb, index, middle. Now, measure 2, I'm going to put on my E minor shape. I'm going to pluck all the same 3 strings. But now I'm going to do middle, index, thumb, and that should harken back to the work we have done on your Make a Better Bar worksheet, and that you're like, oh, I can already do that, right? Next one's a C chord. I put the C chord on, and I've got 0, 0, 0, so I'm going to pluck all those. And then it's thumb, index, middle. Measure 4, I'm going to put that D chord on, pluck it. Middle, index, thumb. And it all repeats again, so play from 5, ready, go. E minor, C chord, D chord. Now, at measure 9, I'm going to put my G chord on. But the strings change, right? I'm no longer playing on the upper strings. I'm now going to take these 3 fingers, move them down to the lower strings, and I'm going to play those for a while. Okay, so with your G chord, 2 plucks of that. Now there's a 5 that jumps in there. Your pinky's going to go up and grab that 5. Play those. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this D chord. And it says 2, 2, 0, 0. Look what I'm holding. 2, 2, 2, 0. But I'm only going to pluck these bottom three strings. So now I'm going to give half notes there. Hey, Linda. Santa Rosa's in. Finally have internet. Cast is off. Unable to strum for 3 weeks. I can finger pick though. A lot of catching up. You'll do fine, Linda. You've been through this. You know what you're doing. Glad you're back. Delighted to have you. So, and besides that, we don't like strumming anyway. Strumming's for the other people. So we're at measure 10. We just did those 2 D chords. Measure 11. Switch back to your G chord. Strum twice or pluck twice. Pinky up on 5. Go grab your D chord. Same 3 strings. And this is the part that makes you sad. Just don't let it make you sad. Bar on 3. A shape in front. Now you're going to use all 4 fingers, thumb, index, middle, and ring. Pluck 4 strings 4 times. Now we're going to slide up to the 5th position. Okay, same shape, A shape in front, and pluck that 4 times. Okay, measure 15. Go grab your E minor. look what you're supposed to hold down 0, 4, 3, 2. Look exactly what you're doing. 0, 4, 3, 2. Okay, you're going to pluck all 4 strings again. And then thumb, index, middle. Now put your C chord on. Same exact pattern. Just pluck everybody. Thumb, index, middle. Measure 17. Grab your G chord. And then a D chord, E minor at 19, C chord, G chord at 21, and then 22, get your D chord. Okay, ukulele players, let's start at the top and we're going to play exactly that. We'll play it nice and slow. Baritone players, your G chord is right here. Your E minor chord is right here. Your C chord is right here. And your D chord is right here. Okay, 4 beats of each, real slow. Okay, ukulele players, play the arpeggio with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor. Change strings. Pinky. D chord. G chord. Pinky. D chord. Bar on 3, A shape in front, 4 strings. Wait for a second. Go. B minor, all 4 strings. C chord. G chord. D chord. E minor. C chord. G chord. G chord. Okay, and in just a sec I'll go back and play that at full speed and you'll hear what a pretty tune that is. Let's go on to page 2. Now, if you're on baritone, you run out of chords. What is your job? To do nothing is your job. You sit there very patiently while the melody players, the ukulele players, take over. The only time as a baritone player you might jump in here, if you could read the standard notation, you would play the exact same notes as a ukulele player. But most of us, I don't really even encourage you to necessarily play from standard notation. It's an inferior system for fretted instruments, but it is actually a super helpful system for singers, and that's why you always get that with every piece of music I give out. It helps you know how long to hold the notes, but in terms of the problem with standard notation is it's different on every instrument, and so if you learn it on one instrument, then you got to relearn it on another instrument, and you got to relearn it on another instrument, and it's just not a particularly effective system when it comes to fretted instruments that we do all sorts of different tunings on, and so when you get to a piece of melody like this and you're on baritone, you probably think, I'm just going to sit out, I'll let the ukulele players do their thing, and then I will jump back in when we get to measure 31. Ukulele players, because we're in the key of G, there's unlikely that we're going to have any ones, so let's play in second position, and magically it covers up 2 through 5, okay, and that's your first 2 measures there. And then the next one is all the way up at 10, okay, so I can either put my pinky on 10, and that puts ring on 9, I'm on 12, pinky on 10, then 9, 8, and 7. So you'd end up in 7th position, and that would cover at least that one measure at 25. So I probably slide my pinky up to 10 and play in 7th position. That's where this is. And then I've got a 5, 7, 2, so I can slide down to 5, 7, and then go back down into second position to grab the 2, and then I can finish out the song there. So I've only got to move one time, pull down to the 5, back to the 7, and then back down here. So we're technically moving 3 times here in this section, and that's the best way to do that, so that you don't want to be, the less stretching you have to do with your hand, the more likelihood that you're going to get the notes right. Let's play that through real slow from 23. Ready? Play. 2, 2, pinky, 5, 5, open, open, pinky on 10, 10, 10, ring on 9, index on 7, slide it down to 5, ring finger on 7, slide down to 2, 3, 3, 2, change your fingers, 3, pinky on 5, index on 2, 2 opens, index, middle, pinky, other string. Okay, and so baritone players, you've let the melody players do their job. And now you jump back in on your E minor, which is here. Ukulele players, I'm trying to sneeze, so give me a second. Now, the sheet music, the tablature says, hey, I want you to start strumming here. I want you to bring your thumb down on these, because that's that glissando, that's that wiggly. So I'm going to start doing that. That's your E minor. And then you have a choice. You can do in thumb, index, middle, or you could just bring your thumb down. That's probably what I would do in this situation, is just strum with my thumb and then get the next 3 with my thumb also. But you could do and go to your claw for the second 3. It's a good practice activity in any event to do either way, so that you can do it whichever way you want. Let's play from 31. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 39, you have a G chord, 0, 2, 3, 2. Okay. It says the glissando disappears, so you're supposed to pluck. And then the D7, pluck here. Put your G chord on, pluck twice, well, pluck 3 times and let that last one ring out. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Let's just play the second page together. Baritone players sit out for the first through measure 30 and then jump in. 1, 2, 3, 4. fermata on the end. That means let this ring until the instrument dies out, so I don't lift up my chord. And that's the song. I'm going to play it one time through at speed, so you get a sense of what you're going for. When you don't know a song, there's no way you could know the song. You've never heard it before, and make sure you're using the resources on the website. You go to the website and tune into your arpeggios, and they're all listed at the top of the MP3 list. Go find your G major for whichever instrument you have, or D major if you're in baritone, and listen to it a couple times while you're looking at the sheet music. It'll make your life much easier. But here's how it goes, full speed. 1, 2, 3, 4. To go and play the first page again. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to slide on to measure 23. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are your 4 principal chords in the key of G, along with bar shapes of the C and the D, which you're going to be using a lot of as we progress into more advanced music. So everything in this piece is super helpful, and hopefully gives you a pretty good sense of gives you a sense of how you're reading tablature and how music theory is starting to come together for you a little bit. And it's actually a very pleasant piece. And I'm like, Linda walks in and she's like, I don't like G major, right? So hopefully gave you take a little bit of the stress and mystery out of it, hopefully. Hoping, Linda. We'll see if we can make you love doing arpeggios. And the more of them you do, the easier it gets. The patterns start to be very recognizable, and you'll see more and more and more of the same thing kind of showing up. And you're like, oh yeah, I've done that before. 0, 2, 3, 2. Oh yeah, that's a G chord. And you'll start to feel a lot more familiar the more you do. It's a nice little piece, right? I was, I wrote the arpeggiator book back in the day to teach myself how to play. I had plenty of piano background, but no ukulele background to speak of at all. And so I needed to, and there were no books at all that were worth using. There still aren't really, but there's this tiny amount of decent music finally being teeny tiny a decent amount of instructional material finally getting created, but you're sitting on the mother load here. This is the one that will teach you how to play ukulele at a professional level, making more sense the second time around. Thanks, Shannon. So now I'm going to play, and mostly in Mary's honor, I'm going to play dead on, note for note, exactly the same thing, but I'm going to play it in the key of D major now on this instrument. And what you'll hear some good things and some bad things. You'll watch my hand if you are, if you're not going to play along. I'd rather you play along. But if you watch my hand, it's exactly the same shapes as I played on ukulele. Shapes, they have different names now. Instead of this shape is now called D. This shape is now called B minor, this shape is now called G, and this shape is now called A. So those shapes are exactly the same. What I do with my right hand will be exactly the same, but instead of being in G major, I'm now in D major. Okay. The other thing that will happen, because this string here on ukulele is tuned high and on baritone it's tuned low, there's certain things that will happen that may be better or not as great for your ear when I'm playing it this way, because we're losing this high note here, which I love, and replacing it with a darker note, which I also have some affinity for. And then you are maybe, if you are a ukulele, thinking, hey, when he plays a D, I'm going to play this shape. Right? When he plays a B minor, I'm going to put a bar on 2 and put my ring finger there. That's your B minor. Okay? When he plays G, I'm going to play here. And when he plays A, I'm going to play here. Okay? You don't need to worry about those bar chords down in 13 and 14, because you already have your G chord here and you already have your A chord here. You don't need to do bar chords with those, because you're just backing me up as a chord player and keeping the beat steady. Okay? Baritone players, let's see how we do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's stop there for a second. Oh my God. I gotta change strings on this thing. I actually don't like this baritone very much, but it is the one I have sitting here at the house. It's my other baritone, the one I kind of like a little better, the nut broke on it. I've been working on fixing that, and it just ends up being last on the list of priorities. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Supposed to go back and play the second page, or play the first page a second time. We'll do that on Friday. Today we're just going to play on into page 2, because we're getting close on time anyway. Go to measure 23, page 2, 1. And by the way, ukulele players, you sit out. You don't do anything here. And then you're going to jump in at measure 31 with your B minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. baritone, this top string rings forever, so you may need to actually shut it down with the palm of your hand. I will, before we let you loose onto society with your newfound strength in arpeggios, those of you who are singers, and you're like, I don't know why he makes us do all this work. Those of you who enjoy singing, arpeggios are your ticket to sounding like a pro. 3 blind mice. 3 blind mice. 3 blind mice. See how they run. See how they run. They all went after the farmer's wife. Blah, right? That's how we teach you in ukulele. Then, once you're better, you figure out, oh, I don't want to just strum all the time. I want to do some plucking. 3 blind mice. 3 blind mice. See how they run. See how they run. Better, right? And then what do you get? Now you have 3 blind mice. 3 blind mice. See how they run. See how they run. They all went after the farmer's wife. She cut off their tails with a carving knife. Have you ever seen such a sight in your life as 3 blind mice? Now, nothing changed over here the entire time, right? But it got a whole lot more interesting, and people think I'm actually playing the instrument when all I'm doing is just patterns over here, and I'm singing the exact same thing, but all of a sudden I'm a guitar player, right? Or all of a sudden I'm much fancier. Nothing changed here. Nothing changed coming out of my face. All I changed was my skill set over here on the right hand, and it makes you sound so much more interesting to listen to. And you'll notice when, as a musician, you end up staring at this hand of musicians all the time, which is goofy that we do that, because this is just going to be your chord. You're like, oh, he is holding a C chord, he's holding a G chord. But over here, you're really is where the real magic is happening, is right on this hand. And when you see particularly when you see somebody like Dolly Parton, who has these big long fingernails, she has to tune her guitar differently to accommodate that. But when you watch her, what's going on over here is magic, because she's been doing it for her whole career, just busy picking stuff out. Mel Tillis and old Merle Haggard and all those guys, all those old country cowboy types, they just going to town with their right hand and playing some very basic cowboy chords over here, and then with those amazing singing voices. So a lot of times when singers come to me and they're like, I got to get better at strumming. No, you don't. You just got to stop strumming and make sure you have a nice steady beat. Put in some arpeggios over here, and people are going to be very interested in listening to that. Whereas, somewhere, it just doesn't, it's not the same thing. It's just a whole nother level of cool. If you did this, somewhere over the rainbow way up high, all of a sudden that's a whole lot better, right? That's a whole lot better. Even though I'm a terrible singer, you would way rather listen to that than what we normally end up listening to. That's it. That's what I know about arpeggios. We'll play this again on Friday, top to bottom, as written. So spend a little bit of time on them. Don't be afraid of them. They are hard when you first get to them, but if you just give yourself some patience, grab the chord, pluck the correct strings, it'll come out beautiful, and you'll end up being a much better ukulele player than any other way that I can think of to teach you. So off you go. I'll see some of you in the next hour. We're doing a couple of easier ones next hour, doing After the Ball, which used to be in the beginner book. I used to have that in my introduction book. I took it out because it's not necessary with some of the other stuff we're doing in there. And then we're going to do a stupid song called Ain't Gonna Rain No Mo, which is really fun to play. And so if you want to just have a little bit easier lesson, come to the next hour if you can. All right, guys. Let's see. Janice says, makes sense the second time. Mary says, thank you for the shape lessons and everything. You're welcome. The shapes lesson is really one of those secrets of playing fretted instruments. Once you are comfy with shapes, you're going to be good for everything. And Janice says, arpeggios so much more interesting. Yeah, they are. And it's the same thing as what you already learned, right? If most people come to me second, right? They'll have some other ukulele teacher and them how to strum and sing, and then they come to me second. And when I say, you really, instead of doing this, you should do this, and all of a sudden, especially if you don't mind having some melody come out of your face, you suddenly have this magical opportunity to just share something really beautiful with your audience. So. All right, guys, I'm going to shut it down. Have a wonderful day. Let's see who we all here with. Vic, Donna, Janice, Mary, Linda. Q was in the house. The other Linda, Michelle up there in Oregon. I think I caught everybody. And of course, if you don't log in, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to. But if you do log in, you can use the chat bar, which I think is over here for you guys. And then if you would press the thumbs up button, I get to be the first person to be on the International Space Station if you do that. So I appreciate that. Be safe. Be practicing. Keep showing up here. That's the one difference between people who can play and those who can't are people who keep showing up. I promise. It's money back guarantee. You're going to be playing at a high level soon. And so do that. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow.